Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Bench Talk, Basketball Ireland's interview series. I'm Conor Meany and I'm joined today by Edel Thornton. Edel, how are you? You're very
I'm
welcome.
good, Conor. How are you?
Not too bad. How has the last couple of months since we all saw you kind of finish out the season been? What have you been up to? Where are you?
I'm at home in Cork, so I got home as soon as everything locked down. It's been, I think, a whirlwind for everyone, and it's kind of uncomfortable feeling, when things were closed, and I know things are starting to open back up now, so it's a bit easier, but it was definitely difficult to kind of be working, doing college and working out all in the same kind of space, and I'd never really felt like, you got out of a certain place, so your headspace was always within the same kind of four walls, but it's definitely getting better.
And you mentioned you're working. What are you doing at the moment?
I'm actually working in an ASD preschool for kids with autism. So, I was supposed to be working here in Cork for the whole summer, and I did work in an ASD preschool in Dublin for the year. So I've been in it a while now, so it's interesting.
That's all part of it. So you're doing a master's at the moment in Trinity, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the master's?
It's applied behaviour analysis.
Okay, and has that been something that you always wanted to get into, or has it just been kind of in the last couple of years, or what's the story with it?
I think I've always kind of been interested in it. I just didn't know what it was called. Sounds a bit silly, but I always kind of wanted to help people, and I did psychology as my undergrad in the States, and I never thought ever that I wanted to work with kids until I went to the States. I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to do any of that. And then I kind of realized, I'm actually really good with kids, and I really enjoy being around them. And that aspect of it then, the aspect of wanting to help people, this was the right line for me. And as soon as I looked up, once I started researching, this was the master's definitely that I wanted to do.
Okay, brilliant. Let's take it back to the start anyway, and we'll come back to Trinity and everything else later on. So when did you're a lifer in Grinnell when you were a kid, at kind of what age did you head up to the parochial hall for the first time?
I was in first class, so about 8 or 7, 8 or 9, around that age.
And you managed to get past the Meals on Wheels smell at the door and get straight into the hall.
I was actually dragged in the first time I went. My friend, I used to go to her house. We used to alternate houses every Wednesday, and her older sister was going, and her mom was like, "Oh, you guys should go as well," and I did not want to go. I did not want to go at all. And then they dragged me up, and thank God they pushed me in the door, because I never looked back from then. But if I didn't go in that door that day, I don't know.
And did your family have any connections I know Jason's involved and stuff, but did they have a connection before you started playing, or was that kind of after?
They did. My older brother Frank, he played, and my mom and dad both played. My mom would tell you herself she wasn't great. She just kind of was there for the friends. My dad will tell you he was fantastic, but I don't know. I've heard stories, but no, they had a connection, and I would always be in the hall, and I just never actually joined.
Okay.
Well, that's the earliest memories I have, was not wanting to go and being kind of shoved into joining the actual team,
And who was it that was your early kind of coaches that maybe kind of made that impression on you to stick with it once you did get started?
My earliest coach would have been Ken Foley, he did the underage with Bruel for years, the academy. And then Kieran O'Leary, I remember, he was Megan and Danielle's dad, so I grew up around him, and he coached me all the way up. And Kevin Harris and Mary Lyle was there under 14s. I had Ger Lyle, and Kieran was kind of the steady rock the whole way through. Everyone's been there.
And Kieran and that group, that was your group that pretty much dominated underage, didn't lose for a good while, isn't it?
Yeah. The memories were something else.
And so who of the current kind of Grinnell girls that's sort of the same age group as you?
It would, Megan and Amy now are gone to Australia and Orla, but they were in the core group. And Danielle was actually coached just under 20s, but she was always around, so she felt like part of the team. Aoife Deneen, who else was in the team? Claire O'Connell, Niamh Connolly, the Connolly twins, Grace Kelleher, like people kind of went in and out.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of them are still playing, but not at Super League level.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I read a thing saying that, like, Kieran, one of the big things that he kind of instilled in everybody was just like almost a ruthlessness, like dive on every. Is that kind of your memory of what he kind of? Because a lot of people would say that's exactly the player that you kind of developed into, particularly underage level. Is that kind of fair that he was a big impact on that?
Yeah, definitely. Just that grit and like never die. Like, you know, you could be down 20 or up 20, but you played the exact same way the entire game, and that's something that he instilled in me quickly, and I think all of us kind of felt like that, and you battled for the person next to you, and that's one of the biggest traits that I learned early, and I'm thankful I learned it early because I carried it the whole way through. Like,
yeah. And you were coached by another legend as well in schools, in Dommy.
Yeah.
Dommy Way has been obviously there for a long time. He coached Irish teams with my oldest brother, Kev. So I know Dommy for many years. Like, what was it like playing for Dommy? Because like anyone who doesn't know Dommy, he's got a huge reputation in Irish basketball for being like just an absolute legend.
Yeah, Dommy was brilliant. Oh, we had a good times. Like, we'd laugh the entire time, and you know, even my dad, you know, we just had such a good relationship, everyone, and I think that's what's so special about Irish basketball in general is the relationships you build with everyone around you, like,
Definitely.
and especially our coaches. And he was just, I meet up with him all the time, and you know, he's just that one person that you could always count on in school. And if I was late to a class, Dommy might not even be in the vicinity of the area, but I would say, "Oh, I was just chatting to Dommy," and nobody questioned anything. Like, oh, he was brilliant to play for. Like, yeah.
And so your underage career, obviously, kind of, it probably the double was the big thing, kind of around, what was that, 2014, where you guys won 18s and 20s same weekend.
I think so. Yeah. Either 13 or 14.
Yeah, and what was your kind of, like, I think you're MVP of both?
Yeah.
What was that like, of just kind of, a lot of Irish people, I guess, build up National Cup in particularly underage. It's a really bit, like, that's the thing that you're aspiring to for so many years, and when you're working on Irish teams underage, you're always kind of like secretly looking at everybody else, kind of going, who have you got? Who are we going to have to beat? So what was it like to actually kind of get to that point where you're just kind of like, oh, amazing, we win both of them in the same weekend?
Yeah, it was fantastic. You know, like you mentioned earlier, that core group, and we were kind of part of the both teams that won. Like, I'd say about 6 of us were on both, if not more. Okay. But like, in the moment, it genuinely felt, like you said, we build up the National Cup, and the National Cup is what you want, and in the moment it feels like nothing else matters. Like, that was our sole focus. Yeah. And like, it's even hard to focus on, like, Cork locally, you know, teams that you're going to play week in, week out, and you're going to have games all the time, and your sole focus is the cup. And to win both of them, you know, we kind of won the 18s on the Saturday, and you know, you're really happy and whatever, but then you have to recuperate and you have to play again tomorrow, and that's it. You know, it was almost, we held ourselves to an expectation because that group didn't lose, like, we never lost, so that was it, and we weren't going to lose again. Like, you know, that was the attitude that we had, was that it's going to take someone tougher than us to beat us. That was our thing. So to win the both of them was just kind of the icing on the cake for everything that we worked, because that was kind of the moment then when people grow up and we all went our separate ways, but those 2 wins were massive. Like,
it's crazy. Even years like myself and my brother coached under 20s when we won in Marion, and then a lot of those same guys played Super League with us when we won and everything else. And it's still kind of memories from under 20s and guys who haven't played basketball in years, and yet they're still part of the group. You see them every year, and it's kind of like, it's amazing that bond that you have at that kind of age. It's unbeatable. So at what stage did you kind of know that you wanted to head away?
I'd say around when I was about 15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I always knew I wanted
kickstarted this. Yeah.
kickstarted it? I suppose like I was always the goal there, but then I started to blossom, I'd say. Like I started to get better and it looked like I could, like it could happen for me. And then a couple of coaches in Cork would have said stuff to my dad like, oh, she should definitely go to the States. And like O'Reilly and both twins, Sinead as well, and Jessica and Clodagh had been away, and a lot of other girls here, but I would know them well. Orla and Clodagh were phenomenal with me when I was like going through the process, and they were so helpful for me. But I'd say, I think I was going into fifth year when the first kind of started the recruiting process. Yeah. And then
how did the recruiting process go? So like, obviously for a lot of Irish people, most people end up going to prep school for a year before they ever go to college. You went straight to college. Kind of, I've been working myself up to say Quinnipiac all day.
You got it right.
First time. Like, when did Quinnipiac get on the radar, and like, how did that come about?
That actually came about through Susan Moran.
Okay.
Which is major, yeah. I sent some emails my fifth year of secondary school here, and then I say I have the story in my, like, I know what it is, and then every time I say it I have to think about it again. But what happened then? I sent the emails and a couple of schools got back, and I was talking to Susan on the phone, and she had said like, oh, St. Joe's, they recruit really early, like a lot of colleges do, and they were set for the year that I was supposed to enter. Okay. So she gave me a bunch of schools, particularly there was a couple in the MAC, so the conference that I ended up going to, and then QU was on it, and she also gave me a list. So like under, say, each school, it was like, oh, this coach plays this style, or really family orientated school, and she gave me insights that she didn't have to, number one, and number two, I wouldn't have known at all if she didn't give them to me. So then QU was on that email, so I sent it off, and they got back to me, and all through the end of fifth year, going into the summer, I went on a visit with my dad just before the Euros, like unofficial visits. So for the people that don't know, the unofficial ones, like I can go myself, and it's funded by me, and like we can do kind of whatever, and they show you around. I can't practice with anybody or anything like that, but I can meet people. And we did that to a couple of schools on the East Coast, and then the plan was kind of, okay, I'll come home, pick two, and my mom will come back with us, and we'll decide then after the official. But when I got to QU, there was something, and I don't know, like to the day, it was just, there was a light switch, because the school before my dad adored, I did as well, and we were set. I was like, okay, good to go, like this is it. And then I walked into QU, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, doesn't look like we're set anymore. Like, oh, it was, but that feeling was phenomenal. And then from there, kind of just, that was QU for the whole of 6 year. Then I was committed.
Here I am, a mug saying Quinnipiac, and I could have just said QU the entire time. Got away with it. So you head over anyway, and it's like I've seen you say before that like it's a tough adjustment period. Like I think a lot of kids in Ireland, a lot of people in Ireland don't really understand what college basketball is really like. They see kind of bits on TV and it looks amazing and this is glamorous and everything else, but that's pretty far from the reality of day-to-day life in college. What were those kind of initial like few weeks or months, or how long did it take you to kind of get settled?
To be completely honest, I'd say until I was fully settled, it was definitely after Christmas of my first year.
Okay.
Like, to be settled in. And I think to comprehend that I had settled in, it was longer than that. Like the first 2 months they were really tough. Just like you're training day in, day out. My body was adjusting to, like I thought, like you think you're fit, and then I got there and that was a whole other level of fitness. Like it was lifting that I'd done a little bit here to kind of prep before I left, but it wasn't to the extent that they were doing. Then the basketball aspect, it was individual workouts before you could actually go into the team. There was a lot of rules that, you wouldn't be used to. And you thought the rules were like your friend, but there's an awful lot that can be done in an hour that is really tough on your body, like. But it was more the mental adjustment to actually, you know, when you're outside of the gym, not worrying about what just happened inside and actually taking that rest that you needed. And I wasn't used to having that, like, you know, I left the arena and I was still the basketball player because like, you go to class and all your friends at that time, they were all on the team because I was adjusting to a whole new lifestyle with nobody I knew around me at all at that time. And like, you know, I did find it difficult at the start to kind of put myself out there and introduce myself to new people, but as time went on, it was much easier. Like, but the first couple of months, they were definitely the hardest, but the most rewarding, because once I went back after Christmas, I was so happy to go back. And I wasn't nervous anymore, so I was delighted.
And so that's obviously something that's really hard for a lot of people transitioning. Like, that's a huge change in your life. That, like, when you're growing up, you're probably, a lot of people, because basketball is relatively small, a lot of people would know you as, oh, it's the basketball girl, more than likely. And then all of a sudden you go over to the States and you're one of the basketball girls, but then you're probably also the Irish girl. And it's like, how do you even get to being just Edel? Like, how does that come about? That, like, is it only over time when you start meeting non-basketball people in college, or like, when did you kind of feel comfortable that, like, I have my basketball life, but I also have the rest of my life while I'm here?
Yeah. I think I'm definitely lucky to say that, you know, basketball has given me so much, and that, like, I am a basketball person, and I'll never take it for granted. But, you know, like you said, it is kind of, at some stage you do want that separation and you want to be known as something other than the basketball person. And I think the States gave me that. It definitely did. And yeah, I was on the basketball team, but, you know, you introduce yourself at the start of every class in college in the States. So they go around and it's who you are, where you're from. And every single time I'd say it, they'd all be like, what's your name? Where are you from? Like, again, and, you know, that's who I became then, was the Irish girl. And I got rid of one stereotype and I went into another. And like, but once I was kind of going through different classes, and I wouldn't mention, oh, I'm on the basketball team, until it was asked, kind of a thing. And, or, you know, we all had the same backpack, so people kind of realized after a while that, oh, they're all on the same team. But I had the ability to kind of be whoever you wanted to be in the States. And when I was at home, I didn't have that, because, you know, I grew up and I wanted to be the basketball girl. I wanted to be really good, and I wanted everybody to know who I was, you know. But when I got to the States, I kind of wanted to kind of become Edel. Like you said, I just wanted to be me and find who I was, because, you know, I, at that age, 18, going away, I still was kind of transitioning through from being the basketball player to being a person.
And when you kind of started getting comfortable with that, did that make basketball easier for you, that it was kind of, this is something I'm enjoying, rather than, like, one of the hard things, like you're talking about the workouts and going to the gym, it can become like a job. Like, I've talked to a lot of guys, it's like a job that you're not paid for, that, like, you have times you have to be everywhere. There's such a physical load on you. So that having this other thing there for you then is a big help to kind of make it actually enjoyable when you're going to the team.
Yeah, definitely. We actually, as a class, so 4 of us lived together for my year. So myself, Brittany Martin, Erin McClure, and Paula Stratmany, we all lived together for 3 years. So the second year, we struggled so much with leaving what happened at the gym there. And it caused a lot of tension in our room. And like you said, it's like a job. And imagine now you're going home from work and living with all your workmates. And it was really hard, because, you know, if you lose a game and someone did something or someone said something and it wasn't left in the gym, and you could just feel the tension. And then, so our third year, we made a pact that we wouldn't discuss basketball outside of the arena. And that was it. And we had the best year ever after that. Like, we just left it there, and that was it. And, you know, obviously we're basketball people, so we would discuss basketball. It never got, like, in-depth conversations. But just that reassurance that we meant more to each other than just being teammates was, I think, something that we all needed. And it was unsaid. We never actually said those words, but I think if we look back at it now, that we can definitely see that we needed that closure and like leave it there, and okay, here we can be like students, or we can do what, like we can be friends as opposed to just teammates. Like essentially we were like a family, all of us, the team, but we needed that differentiation, definitely.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that third year is the kind of magical year, isn't it? The NCAA tournament run.
It was actually the second year. Was the
that's the second year.
Yeah, yeah. After that, we were but before our room was like, don't step this way.
And yet, then at the end of the year, you have this amazing ending to it all. What was so? Obviously, NCAA tournament is the kind of goal for everybody, to win 2 games. You beat the 5 seed and the 4 seed. Miami were the 4 seed. Yeah. Like, just how were you able to enjoy it as it was happening, or was it bonkers? Like, were you so kind of, we're just playing this team who are very good and trying to beat them, or were you kind of like, I'm in the second round of the NCAA tournament playing against Miami, this is cool?
At the time, I didn't feel like that at all. It was just, all right, we have to win this game, let's go. That was the attitude. But that was the way a coach wanted it to be. Like, she never for a minute, honestly, like the selection show was the Monday, and she was like, we all watched where we were going, and like found out who we had, and sure, like I hadn't a clue who Marquette were, like at the time. But I looked at it, and I was like, okay, they're obviously a really good team, like just because I was naive to college basketball, like to all the different colleges that were actually out there.
Yeah, sure.
So we figured out who we had, went into the locker room, and coach was like, okay, these are 2 games we can win. That's it. That's all she said was, we're winning both games. And we're like, okay, let's go. Next day of practice. And it was we never settled after we won the championship. And we easily could have, because we were the 12 seed, and people don't really expect you to get a win, like. So we got that, and as soon as we got on the plane, like obviously you're taking it all in, and it was massive, and it was such a big deal. Even just being there the first game, like beating Marquette, coach was like, no one is to run on the floor. We expect to win this game, so fine. I remember we only rewatched it. Like on the anniversary when we did it in March when lockdown was on, and you can see Jen Fay, right? And she went to jump, and everyone caught her. Like, no, this is expected. So we get to the locker room, celebrate, and then we're playing Miami, and we never felt like we were going to lose. And then we won, and that when we won that game was just, okay, we done it, and we could kind of let loose, and just the celebrations. We didn't get on the plane that night till around 2 a.m. Like, and it was phenomenal.
When you got back to campus, like, were people, did it take over campus, of like people were all more aware than they ever would have been before, or what was it like? They
were definitely more aware than they would have been. It was a big deal, all right, and people kind of, in your classes, they'd all know, and they were all like, when I got in, every professor would have been like making a big deal of it, and sure, we were flying out to California 2 days later, and it was major. But I remember actually emailing the professor, because we were flying to California, and I had a paper, and I almost had it done, like it was ready to go. I just wanted to make sure, like I'm a perfectionist in all aspects, so I was like, okay, this is perfect. So I asked for like a day extension, and he said, I can't, because I need to treat everybody fairly. I was like, okay, this is what you wanted. You wanted to be treated like everyone else, so just roll with it. But everyone it was such a big deal, but then they still treated you like they were supposed to, and that was it. And that's when you go back to the job, and you're doing this, or you won this game, but at the same time you still have to put the the stuff on the paper and perform the way you're supposed to.
And in terms of preparation, I've read before that your coach is about as in-depth in kind of scouting and everything else that you could, like, what was it like overall having to adjust to like, in Ireland, for better or worse, particularly at underage level, it's kind of, go out, play, you can be really aggressive, you can kind of see what's happening, and then all of a sudden you're going to this world where you have to know exactly everything about your opponents. You have to kind of stick to a plan. Like you as a player probably had to adjust your game hugely to fit into this kind of new system that you were kind of like very different from what you would have done with Grinnell. What was it like having to like adjust the way you play basketball? Because like basketball for you for so many years was just, all right, let's just go like this is natural, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit unnatural for a while probably.
Yeah, no, it was like you said, a little bit unnatural at the beginning, just because, you know, Brunel were known for freestyle and, you know, running the ball, and to be honest, in QU we ran the ball an awful lot as well, and that's where I struggled. I think is that I was like, oh, we're going to run, it's going to be perfect, like it's perfect fitting, but we ran in a structure, so everyone had a lane and everybody ran that lane, and you know, if the ball bounced this way, you ran that way type. Like I knew wherever, and like at this moment now, I know exactly, if I was on the court, I'd know exactly where you're supposed to be. If you weren't there, it was my job to tell you before a coach got the opportunity to. But like at the beginning, I had no idea what was going on. I hadn't a clue. Oh, I remember distinctly one coach, like there's so many coaches, like we had 4 coaches, and I remember Mountain McGilvery asked, oh, what kind of a screen did she set? We had certain rules for certain screens, so like say they set a flare, you go over, but I didn't even know what a flare screen was, so he's like, what kind of a screen did she set? And I was like, I don't know, she just hit me. And the whole team just, everyone stopped, and coach was like, this is brilliant. And I just, because I didn't know at all, and she just laughed, and you know, just breaking down those small things. And even my second year I struggled so much, and the offense, you know, you kind of get a hang of it after a while, but the defensive rules were hard to learn, like, and you had a rule for everything, and if the ball was there, you were to be there, and like constantly talking and communicating. And people don't realize how tiring that actually is. Like, it takes up an awful lot, and because you have to be tuned in to everyone at all times.
Definitely.
It was an adjustment, but I'm glad I made it, because I understand the game so much better now. And like coach, we'd have scouting reports, and I got to a stage in senior year and even junior year where I was able to say, oh, I don't think that'll work, and then them understanding that it was coming from a player's perspective and we were going to be the ones to do it. And she was like, okay, we'll try it, look. And you know, they're actually taking your advice on board, or anybody else. And Paula in particular would always say, that'll work or that won't work. And if Paula says, whatever Paula said went, kind of like, oh yeah. Well, it was hard, but definitely worth it. Like,
it's weird then, because after you graduate, you come home and you play for the senior women's team. And I remember Francis, I think, said in the paper at one stage, it's kind of like, it's not, it's the wrong word for it, but like almost deprogram you a little bit, that you're so used to a system that we almost need the old Edel that has a little bit more freedom to go out and express yourself. How tough has it been kind of transitioning back to, all right, now I keep some of what I've learned, but at the same time, I don't have to play in such a rigid structure, and I can be me a little bit again. Like, you're almost a third version of the same player.
Yeah. That summer I struggled a lot. That summer in the Mardyke. It was like you said, it was deprogramming myself, and I still had another year to go back. Like, I had to go back and be reprogrammed. So I didn't really want to lose a lot, because my senior year meant a lot to me. And like that freedom, like you said, I had the freedom in the States. It was just, I knew that other players were better at certain aspects than I was. So I did what I needed to do for us to be the best that we could be in the States. And then when I got home, you know, like you said, people would have known me as, like, I played free. And, you know, to be honest, I played manic for the most part, and like head down straight to the basket, and like no matter who was in my way, I was going to the basket, and that was it. And like I'm surprised I didn't get hurt more, but I do wish I had some of that in me for the Mardyke. And I think if it was just so hard for me to actually be okay with doing that, like I just like Francis said, and I spoke to him about it before, and like I just found it so difficult to be okay with myself. And like nobody was giving out, and nobody was ever mad if I took a bad shot. I was the one that, it was me that was actually getting upset about it, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have shot that because Sarah was wide open on the wing. And that was the way I was programmed, was okay, if somebody's open in a better position, like get the ball to them right away. And that was the way it was. And like I am thankful for that, but at the same time I did need a bit of a, now you need to take a shot, like now you need to create it for yourself, like. And it was definitely tough to readjust. And then I think once I got back after my senior year, that's when I fully took a deep breath and was like, okay, now you can reprogram yourself to create your own and do what you have to do to get a win. Like, so it was that summer that was, you know, I did
and
that.
And that's been coming throughout this past year. I didn't see many games, but I saw a couple, and you could see that was back a little bit for you with kind of Meteors, that it was a balance, that you guys had a good team and there was a bit of depth to it, but at the same time, there was Vinny more than likely had to tell you, Edel, I need you at certain stages to kind of go be Edel. Did you was there any kind of point during the season where you're kind of like, no, this is starting to click into a place where I'm at a point where I'm comfortable?
Yeah, definitely more so than previous summers, I'd say. Even after the summer with the Irish team just gone, like James would have spoke to me a lot about it as well, and just said, look, you're free, like there's no, I was never trapped in the States, but at the same time that was our structure and that's how we did it. But here I was expected to do different things to what I was expected to do there. But just with Meteors, it definitely, I'd say, kind of took me at least 4 or 5 games to realize, okay, I need to score. Like, I need to be a dominant factor in these games. And like, there's no, oh, if I have 15 today, that's great. But like, it was, you need to do it, Edel, and that's it. And I guess the team were great with that as well. And knowing that we were very confident in that whenever ever somebody shot, nobody ever said, oh, that's a bad shot. So that gave you confidence as well to be like, okay, you know, we can shoot shots, and everyone's entitled to take one questionable shot every now and again, you know. But like, it was tough. I'd say midway through the year was when I actually felt like, okay, I can go 1-on-1 here, and I'm okay with it.
Midway through the year kind of matches up nicely with the cup semi-finals coming into the Parochial Hall. And what was it like being back but playing for a different team in the hall?
It was strange, but at the moment I didn't feel not any different, but like it was interesting. Like the Saturday we obviously weren't playing, so I got home on Friday, and Lauren Grigsby, my roommate and teammate with Meteors, she came with me because I wanted her to, like, okay, this is the feel for the cup weekend, and we had a great time. And then the team followed us down on Saturday, so we stayed in the hotel. So I think that was something that actually helped me adjust to, okay, I'm not at home playing with Brunel, you know, that kind of it. And it did definitely help me mentally anyway. I didn't realize it at the time till I looked back at it. It probably definitely had an impact. But going into the hall in a different set of gear, but saying hi to everybody, you know, and oh, good luck, and everyone was making a joke, and I was kind of like, gee, like, you really are playing with somebody else in here, like, but even the club was fantastic and gave us a room that I asked, could we have a room to warm up in, that I used to warm up in with Grinnell before the cup. So we did get the luxuries of acting like we were Brunel, but we weren't. But no, it was really strange, but like, you know, the game was in front of us to win, and I was too competitive to let something like that go over, like.
And now this coming year, you're going to have an opportunity more to play against Grinnell for the first time. So now you've already said, like, a lot of the girls that you grew up playing with aren't, like, Amy's away and everyone else. Like, there's a few of them away, which will make it probably a little bit easier that it's not the same faces, but have you, like, is that something that you're excited for when the fixtures come out in a couple of weeks, that it's going to be like, right, when am I playing Grinnell, or what are you thinking about that?
I have a bit of mixed emotions about it, to be honest. I never ever thought that I would play against Bruel, but things lined up differently. But again, somebody asked me that recently, the question about playing against Bruel, but like, again, I'm way too competitive to let it impact me. And I think, to be honest with you, I think for the first quarter or so, I might be a bit, this is a bit strange or whatever. But look, I haven't played with Brunel in a while, so hopefully it'll be like, I'm competitive in training against my own teammates at the time, so I'll be fine once we get on the floor. But everyone knows, it's not anything personal. I am where I am, and we're all playing against each other, so it'll be fine, and I'm sure it'll be grand before and after as well. So,
and I think the other thing that probably impacts you is that, like, it'd be different if you were playing for Father Matthews or Glanmire, or you had chosen within Cork to go to a different club and then come back and face for now, whereas your situation is very different. It's like you've been away, and all of a sudden a course opportunity comes to Dublin, so it's not as if you turned your back on Grinnell or anything like Judas. So you guys, that Trinity team, obviously back up into Super League as well. Just in general, you guys were probably, realistically, you had a Super League level kind of team last year already. So like, it's not going to take, you're not probably a traditional team coming up into the league. There's a lot of pieces there already that know exactly what that level's like. Just how excited are you guys ahead of the new season, and to be able to challenge yourselves against some of those top teams?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, I think we have what it takes to be competitive in the league. We do have a couple of core girls coming back again next year, and hopefully we'll get 2 good Americans in as well, and we should be good to go. And honestly, we're really excited to play against the best. You always want to play against the best in the country, and that's what we're going up against this year. And we always played our best games when we're playing the best teams in National League, so hopefully, like, each game this year we're just going to get better and better. And I think it might be an adjustment, that jump from Division 1 up, but we honestly held ourselves to a standard anyway, so I'm hoping that it won't be a drastic change for us all, and especially if we get a good couple of months of training under our belts, a couple of weeks, or whenever COVID allows stuff to happen, once we can get up and going. And I think, honestly, once you have a fixture in mind and you're going towards a date, things get an awful lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just one more thing on Meteors is, obviously last year, your first season there, you were coaching within the club, so coaching with some of the kids and things. And then also Meteors did a lot of great work with the 20x20 campaign, where they had like big stuff in college where like they had big attendance and different things. Could you feel yourself kind of all of a sudden being that role model for the next Edel coming up, that like there might be girls that you're coaching now that the same sort of impression that Kieran and Donnie and those sort of people made on you, that like, this is something that I'm now doing for the next group?
Yeah, definitely. I coached with Seamus Stanley, so we coached together for the under-14s, and I absolutely loved it. And the girls were they were fantastic. And like you said, I'd always kind of carry myself because, when I was younger, I watched every move of the people that I looked up to, and I'm so conscious of, I would never think that somebody was doing that, but I always would want, if somebody was looking at me in that way, that I'd want to leave the best impression of myself. And I would always, like, I spoke to Tommy O'Mahony's under-18s girls team last week, and I told them that if anyone had any questions or ever wanted to talk, I'm a nice person and I will communicate with you and I'll talk away, but like, I wanted people to feel comfortable with me. And that was the one thing with the 14s girls that I really wanted, was the communication between, I'm your coach, but I'm there for you as well, in terms of, okay, I'll teach you basketball, but I want to help you in everything that you do, and, leave an impression. And help you in whatever aspect that I can, like, but I absolutely adored coaching them, just because I was able to build those relationships, and the 20 by 20 campaign as well, and, you know, promote that as much as possible, and for them being able to see what I've done and what basketball has given me in my life. I think that was one thing I wanted to get across while I was coaching, was like, you know, if a player fell down, I made sure that they knew to run and pick her up, kind of thing. And, you know, everyone boosts each other up and keep clapping, and everyone on the court had a job, and, like, not even a job, but, like, everyone had an impact, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because some people at under 14s, it can be easy to be like, okay, you know, this girl is really good and we'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But what about the girl that she really wants to get better, but no one's taking any notice, you know, that kind of. And
yeah, definitely.
That's one thing that we were so focused on this year, was promoting everyone, because they're under 14s and anyone can be a star at under 18s if they're developing from under 14s, like.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I have rapid fire questions to finish this out. Don't worry, they're not the crazy ones. Although I do have one from Mary Gardner, who's good. I'll start this out with Mary Gardner's. So Mary wants to know 3 celebrities you'd have over to dinner. Who would they be?
3 celebrities. Mary would definitely be one of my celebrities because of all the videos she's on RT with. No, she's a lunatic. Who else? I'd say, LeBron James, definitely. I love LeBron. And another celebrity. Ellen Pompeo. She played Meredith Grey in Grey's Anatomy. And
I wish I didn't monologue that as quickly as I did. I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I loved her. That got me through college. Grey's Anatomy. Oh, fab.
Okay. Toughest opponent you've ever played against?
Oh, toughest opponent in Ireland. I'd say toughest opponent, definitely Lindsay Peat in Ireland. In the States, there was a lot. I think on a regular basis, the toughest opponent I played, I'd say Grace Vanderreedy from Marist, or else Lexi Possett, who actually played in Belfast this year. Because we play and mark each other a lot in college, so.
Okay. Favorite arena you've ever played in, and Parochial Hall doesn't count.
Oh. I'd say QU.
Exactly, your own arena. Yeah. You've managed to go this entire interview without saying Quinnipiac. If you could replay any game, so good or bad, so either just enjoy the moment again or else try and fix something that happened, what game would it be?
My under-18s cup final. I missed the layup and we lost the game by 1. I missed the layup and then I turned and a foul was called, let's say, that game. If that layup, I do genuinely think things would have turned around from there.
Okay. Best teammate you've ever had. So not just like talent wise, just if you were starting a team, like just the best person to have alongside you.
That's so hard. I've had such great teammates. I think I'll stick with the Ireland aspect on that. The best teammate I've had with an Irish team, I'd say most recently would be Hannah Thornton. Yeah. She was just such a good teammate, and always, even when I moved to Dublin, her and Urban always made sure I was good to go, and took me out after games and stuff. So yeah, definitely Hannah.
Okay, your favorite player to watch growing up?
Lindsay Peat and Rachel Vanderwall.
Lindsay and Rachel. Okay, yeah. And then last question for you is: in 10 years' time, so you're at my stage, what would you like people to kind of look back at your career and kind of say?
I'd hope they think that I got as much out of me as I could, that I did my best in everything that I could, and I'd like to think that I had a good impact on everybody around me, and I was a good teammate. That's one thing that I appreciate is that if everybody thought I was a good teammate, and I do genuinely care about that, and just I'd like people to think that I was a nice person and a great player, and you know, I gave what I could to Irish basketball, and I didn't leave anything behind.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have. So thank you so much, Edel, for having the chat with us. There's just one thing that I'm going to say to people that were watching, and Edel kind of mentioned it herself, and there's also a thing through Basketball Ireland is, if you are thinking of trying to like go on a similar journey, with boys or girls, doesn't really matter, you can contact Basketball Ireland. We'll put up the address, and what we're trying to do is link people in with the likes of Edel, so that like you can ask the questions. Like Edel said, the advice from Susan was so valuable when she was trying to get our Orla O'Reilly, Sinead O'Reilly, those sort of people. So we're trying to create that now where people who are trying to follow the footsteps of people like Edel are able to kind of get that same bit of advice from people. So make sure you contact us, and I'll bug Edel and get loads of things from her.
Conor, can I just say one thing as well for Mary Gardner? So she's organising a fundraiser for a little girl called Livy Mulhern. So Livy, it's called Layups for Livy is the fundraiser, and Livy has SMA type 1. So what Mary is going to do is organise it, and what you have to do, it's 5 layups, nominate 5 people, and donate €5. So if anyone's watching this and can do that, or any donation at all, just know that the funds will be greatly appreciated. Yeah,
it's a great cause, and tag Basketball Ireland in it if you're doing your video, and tag other players in it, and we'll try and help share some of that as well. So Edel, thanks a million. Next week on Bench Talk, it's going to be who is it? Aidan O'Shea is going to be with Jackie Hurley, so it'll be interesting to see what Aidan has to say. Edel, thanks a million.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.